Hello. So today I wanted to talk about pistol and rifle combinations, if you want to call it that. Having a rifle in the same caliber as your pistol that you're carrying. You see references to this sometimes on the internet. Some people think it's foolish. Some people think it's not. I wanted to talk about it a little bit, how I feel about it, how it can be good, how it can be bad, and specifically use an example that I have here in front of me. So first, let's start with why it could be a bad idea. Um, Having a pistol and a rifle chambered in the same caliber could be a bad idea if you're in a situation where you need to do separate tasks. For instance, having a large caliber rifle that can shoot fairly flat and a pistol that is definitely for close work, or if you're carrying, say, a 22 pistol for shooting small game if you're out on the trail, and a large rifle for taking heavy game or large game, then that would be a place for that. And having a rifle and a pistol in the same cartridge would give you limited range of capability. There's a few places it can be good, depending on caliber. Um, a rifle over a pistol has many pluses over a pistol. One of them being that you have better accuracy. You have higher velocity generally. You also have a little bit more power, mostly because of that velocity. So that will help versus just carrying a pistol in a round. For instance, the set I have here is in 357 Magnum. This is a Taurus poly protector. It's a 5-shot 357 Magnum with a 2-inch barrel. This is an Action Arms Timberwolf with an 18-inch barrel in 357 Magnum. So obviously they both can shoot the same rounds, and this is another plus to this, is that both of these can shoot 38 and 357. And one of the cool things about shooting a pistol round through a rifle, one of them is that there's very limited recoil. But where this would be a good, say, setup is, for instance, if I wanted to carry, say, snake shot or something lighter in my pistol, if I was out west or in a place where there's rattlers, versus having it in my rifle and I could simply deploy my pistol, bang, there goes the snake. And with the 357, when you increase your barrel length, you greatly increase velocity and you greatly increase your foot-pounds at the end. So going from a 2-inch barrel to an 18, you're greatly increasing how far, how fast, and how heavy that bullet is going to hit when it hits. So that's where it can be kind of a good thing, is now you only have to really have one kind of ammunition, and you can take medium to large game or small game at close quarters with your pistol if you wanted to. So that's where it can be a good idea. You only have to carry one kind of ammunition. Versus, let's say if I was deer hunting and I had my 22 pistol or my 9mm and I had my 30-06, I'm carrying two different types of rounds. They're fairly large. Whereas this is a 357. It's straight wall. It's pretty straightforward, and a pretty good cartridge. And that's where it comes in, is that you now only have to carry one type of ammunition if you wish to. You will see these combinations in things like 4440, 45 long Colt, all the old cowboy rounds, because at that time, the 6-shot revolver was the king of carry, but your rifle, you wanted to be chambered in the same thing, and they realized that if they simply increased the barrel length, that they could get much more performance out of it, and also it held more rounds. For instance, this pistol, which is a wonderfully accurate, fine little pistol, only carries 5 rounds of 357, whereas this rifle in the tubular magazine holds 10. So that's a big plus when it comes to that. So if you're into like cowboy shooting and stuff like that, it can be a lot easier because now you're only dealing with one type of ammunition. If you're a survivalist kind of guy who only wants to have to carry one type of ammunition, this is a good idea. And having a set like this where you can shoot multiple different types of ammunition is even better. Some of the downfalls are that certain ammunitions don't perform as well out of a longer barrel. That's because if certain hollow pointed bullets, where they have a hole in the middle, so that they expand on contact. If they're going too fast, they don't expand. So that can be, if you're sending it out of a barrel, a rifled barrel, and with a 357, when you increase your barrel length to 18 inches, you can increase your feet per second between 200 and 700 feet per second. So that's a lot faster. So you may not get the expansion that you would be used to in, say, a 4-inch or 6-inch barreled pistol. But what that also means is that further distance, when it finally slows down, when it does hit, you will still get that same terminal pedaling or expansion at a much further range. It's just that kind of intermediate range. So you can see where that can kind of create a problem. The other thing is most of these old slide action or lever guns that were made to be teamed up with a pistol, they tend to have what's called a tubular magazine. You can see this one, all the rounds are fit into this tube under here, which is not a big deal, especially since most of your 357 and 38 special ammunition is hollow points or flat noses, like once again here, jacketed ones. And where it can run into a problem is when you have, like, say, this 38, which is a cast lead projectile. Now, out of your pistol, it's not a big deal. You've only got 2 inches, but out of this long barrel with a higher velocity, you're going to get more lead in your barrel, which just means you're going to have to clean it much better. Eventually, you may have to de-lead the barrel. So that can be an issue. The other issue is, as you can see, this is pointed and this is not. So one of the cardinal sins in tubular magazines is loading pointy rounds. Because if you load flat or hollow points, you can see that there's no way that can really hit the primer when they're in line. It sets around it. That's your primer that sets the rounds off. However, with a rounded end, you can see you're sitting directly on the primer. I know it's hard to see on the camera. So the worry is always that there could be a shock that would accidentally set that off and create a bomb. So that's one of the things that you can't do. I mean, yes, you can shove that right in your revolver and off you go, but in your tubular fed magazine, that may be an issue. Some of the new lever guns are coming out. I can't remember who was making them. I believe Marlin, where it's actually a lever gun with a 5-round magazine that you put in the bottom. Pretty cool idea. That would eliminate the need to do that. The other thing you can do is, if you are using pointed rounds in your rifle-pistol combination, aim for the polymer tips. Those won't be able to set off the primer because they're soft, or because they're plastic rather. So that's another way you can go. I believe Buffalo Bore is making 357s in those. Some people will say that a pistol caliber cartridge is not good enough for taking large game, etc. I will tell you that it very much can be. The 357 out of the 18-inch barrel is going to give you as much, if not more, than your 30-30. So is it going to be a 150-yard gun? Probably not. But under 100 yards, you can absolutely take a deer, and at closer range, much larger game. People forget that when this 357 Magnum first came out, one of the things they did was go around the country shooting everything they could with the 357 Magnum, proving that it can take down any game in the country, and it did. Once again, shot placement being important, also, speed and type of projectile. So those are some things that you can think about. Now you take like I said, this is a good combination for me, I think, because it gives me a lot of versatility, because I can use, 38s out of this little revolver are nothing. 357s out of it are kind of rough. 357s out of this carbine rifle, they're very very comfortable to shoot, whereas the 38s I might as well be shooting a 22. So there's definitely that to be said for it. It makes it much more pleasant to shoot. You're getting longer accuracy, you're getting more energy downrange, and most of your pistol caliber cartridges, believe it or not, especially these older ones with a longer barrel, are more than capable of taking down most game that you're going to need to take. So that's why this could be a good idea. Now something like 45 Long Colt, which you will see these combinations in, especially in the cowboy shooting and stuff. The problem with that is the 45 Long Colt, even out of a pistol, is a bear of a round. It's a very large round. You're not going to be shooting squirrels with it. I would say it's good at close range for dangerous game as well. So the need for the rifle really only gives you extended distance that you can hit the target at. But it does give you distance, and it gives you more rounds in the firearm, so that's also a plus. Um, like I said, you see a lot of this on the internet. People saying that it's a good idea or it's not a good idea. I just simply happen to own both of them, and I find that this carbine in 357 is very comfortable to carry and very easy to shoot. So why not pair it with a pistol that I already have that fires the same rounds? Makes perfect sense to me. Would I, want to try to shoot squirrels on the move with a 357 and a 2-inch snubby? Absolutely not, because it's not going to work out well. But I'm sure it's feasible. So these are some of the things to consider if you are going to get into the kind of shooting or the kind of idea where I want to have a rifle that shoots the same as my pistol. You just want to make sure that you know what you're getting into. Like I said, with this particular rifle, I don't want to have pointed bullets. I also don't want to have solid lead because I'm going to have issues. Whereas I can shoot the solid lead out of my pistol with no problems. It's stuff like that. So I would really say that a lot of what we think of as pistol caliber cartridges these days are more than capable of doing what we need, especially now with the prevalence of intermediate cartridges becoming so popular. The 350 Legend, the 300 Blackout, on and on. So many of these cartridges that I would consider 150-yard guns. So why not look at something like this? The other price point that I want to point out that could make something like a combination set like this good is 357 and 38 in price compared to, say, 308. It's much cheaper generally. This last 2 years being what they are, but generally, you're paying 50 cents a round to 75 cents a round, whereas if you're, say, shooting 308, you're talking $1, $1.25. If you're shooting something like 243, if you can get a hold of it, I mean, you could be shooting $2 to $3 a round. So for plinking or practice, this is definitely a pretty good idea, and it also cuts down on the risk of putting the wrong round into a firearm, which is something I'm always nervous about. So if you have any combinations that you like, or if you have something to add to the conversation or any curiosity, please leave it in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you, and thank you.